guys, and welcome to another session. I'm just gonna wait for maybe 1 more minute for everybody to log in. And today's session is basically about the yoga teacher trainings that experienced teachers go on. And because I get a lot of these questions from people about why, if you've been practicing yoga for so long, what is the necessity or what is the point of going on a teacher training again, and reoccurring teacher trainings. So I just wanted to talk about that, and I'm just going to wait for a few more people, at least for 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we can get started. So if you saw the flyer that I made, the 3 questions that I'm going to be talking about are why do experienced teacher trainings, why do yoga teachers disappear for yoga practice for months at a time every year, and what exactly goes on in these trainings. So if these experienced yoga teachers are going for trainings, what is going on in the trainings? And also finally, I'm going to be talking about both of these things from my point of view, which is someone who's very experienced in the Iyengar lineage, and I have a little bit of experience with the Ashtanga lineage also. And so I have a lot of insight into these two, so I wanted to talk about that. So the first thing is, why do even experienced teachers go for trainings? And in fact, experienced teachers, the more experienced a teacher is, the longer their training will be. And there are two things that can happen. Either in these trainings, people are going, like teachers are going for additional certifications. So for instance, you might go for like an aerial yoga certification, or there are these trainings where you're not really getting any additional certifications. Okay. And yes, those trainings also exist. There are like month-long trainings, sometimes 6-month-long trainings that teachers voluntarily go on, and they don't get any kind of certification or any kind of extra credit or extra points for that. Okay, so these kind of trainings actually happen in the traditional styles. Okay, so when we talk about traditional styles of yoga, there are many, such as, you could talk about the Shivananda, you could talk about the Iyengar, you could talk about the Ashtanga lineage. And these are called lineages because they follow a tradition. Okay, they follow the Guru Shishya tradition or the Guru Shishya Parampara. So by and large, you'll see that some teachers are going for something like, let's say, aerial teacher training or an advanced teacher training. And some teachers are just going to spend some time at an institute with their teachers. Okay, and that is also something that takes a long time, and something that a lot of teachers have been doing for years. Okay, and that is how things usually work in the traditional yoga lineages. And the difference between these two, let's say someone who's going disappearing for a month or registering for a training, the difference between someone who does that for a certification and someone who does that just because they have committed to the training is that in a traditional style or a traditional lineage, there is this larger commitment to the practice. Okay, so if I decide to go for a month or 2 months to Pune, it is not with the hope that I will be getting an additional certification, or I'll be getting like a teacher's training certification, or any other points, with my teacher. I'm just going there just to recommit to the practice. And when teachers commit to a lineage and commit to a practice, there is lesser focus on going away for additional certifications. Okay, so many times you see that a lot of teachers want to sort of expand their repertoire, and they'll go and get certified in the Ashtanga lineage and in like aerial yoga and silks and chair yoga and things like that, or even sound healing and crystal healing and Reiki, and they will thus build a resume where they have a lot of skills. Okay, but a teacher in a traditional lineage, they might be spending the same amount of time and the same amount of resources. Like they will go to Pune or they'll go to Mysore every year, year on year, but they're not coming back with an additional certification. What they are coming back with is just a recommitment to the practice. Okay, so they're just deepening their practice. And you will see that the longer a teacher spends in a particular lineage, the more trainings they do. Okay, and so you'll see that initially when a teacher is younger, they don't really understand the necessity or the value of going away with their teachers for a long time without getting a certification. But as someone deepens their practice, you will see that they understand the value, and that they keep returning and they find some value in it, and that actually gets reflected back in the way they teach as well. So that's about why experienced teachers actually go away to practice, even though they don't get any additional points for it or any additional certifications for it. Now, in the traditional lineages, and I'm going to talk about the Ashtanga and the Iyengar lineages, there are certain things that characterize how these trainings are happening. Okay, so now we come to the second part of the question, like what exactly is going on in these teacher trainings. So your teacher disappears for a month or 2 months, comes back, they don't have any additional certifications, they just say that they've just been with their teacher. So what exactly are they doing in these trainings? What is happening in the traditional lineages of yoga? So what's happening is a methodology. Okay, so a methodology is basically how something is taught, and in the traditional lineages of yoga, there is a specific methodology. There's a particular type of methodology which is consistent through all the specific lineages. And then there is just the teacher trainings, the advanced teacher trainings, which is like more of that's a different style of teaching yoga. Okay, and over there the methodology differs. But in the traditional lineages, these are sort of characterized by certain things. For instance, when you train with a traditional teacher, you will be working with cues. Okay, you will be working with repetition. So a lot of times you will have these classes, they'll happen with a sense of repetition. You're doing the same thing over and over again. Traditional lineages also focus on service and bonding with your guru or your teacher. So there is a huge role that the guru or the teacher plays. So these students are going back. We always go back to the same set of teachers. Whereas in a different kind of methodology of yoga, you could go and learn from many different teachers. And also in the traditional lineages, what happens is that the teachers sort of tell a story. There is a storytelling component also. And finally, the last bit of where we place emphasis is on the actual asana practice. Okay, so that is basically the difference between like the traditional lineages and where experienced teachers go, and any other kind of course that that is available in the market today. So your senior teachers are not necessarily going to these institutes and these schools necessarily to learn something new. So a lot of people ask me, well, are you going to be learning something new? Are you going to be gaining a new skill? And the answer to that is no. We don't necessarily learn something new, but what we do is we try to imbibe this heritage or this tradition, which is the Guru Shishya tradition, and which is how yoga has been taught for centuries. And for yoga to be truly transformational, like when we say that yoga can change your life or yoga can change you as a human being, when we talk about that transformational aspect, it doesn't happen only through asana. It happens through everything else that I've mentioned. So it happens when you have a bond with your teacher. It happens when you practice under the supervision of your teacher. It happens when you practice the same thing over and over and over again. And that is why year on year, we keep going back to the same teachers, to the same institute, to do the same thing. Because a very important part of it is repetition, is meeting your guru, meeting your teacher again and again, and deepening the relationship. And as your relationship with the practice deepens, with the guru deepens, that's how you become a better practitioner. And in effect, that's how you become a better teacher. So now, what happens in these trainings, and how is storytelling and service to the guru, how do we experience this? When I go to Pune or when I go to Mysore, how do I experience this? So now there are many things. So in the practice of yoga, you're not, when we go to Mysore or when we go to Pune, although there is a specific schedule that you're following, and the schedule is for asana classes, we do not, it's not only being told to do an asana and then doing the asana, okay, or being shown how to do an asana and then just doing that asana. It is not really that simple. So what happens is the teachers usually weave a story around the asana practice, okay. So in Pune, for instance, to explain the feeling of an asana or to explain another concept of yoga, teachers can use metaphors, they can use stories, they can talk about their personal experiences, they can share their personal experiences. And this is a very important aspect of the practice of yoga. Okay, and this I feel is missing when you go for a yoga course, or like a 1 month yoga course or 2 month yoga course, and you don't really have a relationship with the teacher. This, you end up missing out on this factor, you know, where the teacher talks about their experiences, they talk about like what they've learned from these experiences or how they've managed to overcome the difficulty in an asana. And I think you know, the more advanced you are as a student or as a yoga practitioner, you'll find that it is possible for you to do asanas, to grasp the asanas really well, but what you're really looking for is like the pearls of wisdom that you get from your teachers. So while in Pune, they try to weave stories around around your asana practice. What happens in Mysore, in Ashtanga Yoga, is that every Sunday they dedicate for something called a Dharma talk. So here students actually go to the teacher and they ask them questions, you know, and it's an open forum where any student can ask any question, and the teacher sits there and they actually answer these questions. So this also works to, like, it serves to sort of deepen the relationship between a teacher and a student. You feel closer to the teacher. The teacher has an opportunity to really understand you, and this sort of thing can only happen if the teacher sees you year on year and really understands your practice, has seen you grow. So same thing in Pune. So both of these lineages, which are traditional lineages, really rely on this student teacher interaction relationship, and that's what really sets it apart from you know, a yoga course that you're doing just for the certification and then you never see that teacher again. So you know, so basically this is it. This is how the you know, this whole experience of going away for a month or 2 months to be with your teacher exclusively with your teacher, why this actually ends up deepening your practice. And I would also like, finally, because a lot of people ask this, it is possible to apply to these lineages. Like there is an institute in Mysore, the KPJYI Institute, and there is an institute in Pune, which is the Iyengar Yoga Institute. It is possible to apply to these institutes. However, admission is not guaranteed. So that's another difference between your traditional lineages and like commercialized teacher trainings. Because in the traditional lineage, you know, the teacher really wants you to demonstrate that you are interested in the practice of yoga and that you are really interested in learning something from them. So sometimes there is a long waiting list. I know I have a friend who just received a letter for admission for Jan of next year, you know. So, and even then, even though she's been a practitioner for a long time, there was no guarantee that she would get it. The same thing happens in Mysore. Just because you've been practicing Ashtanga for a long time, it doesn't really guarantee you admission. If you can pay the fees, it doesn't guarantee you admission. And I was speaking to someone, to a friend of mine who's from the Bihar School of Yoga, and she was saying the same thing, that admission is just not guaranteed. So that is another challenge. And that's also designed to just sort of see how serious you are. And finally, a lot of people ask me about the syllabus. What actually are you learning? So I'd say a part of the syllabus is this intangible stuff that you get from your teacher, such as, you know, their experiences, how they've dealt with certain things in life, how they've managed and handled their practice over so many years. But you know, there is an asana component, and both lineages, the Ashtanga and the Iyengar lineages, both of them have specified a syllabus, you know, for your beginner, intermediate, and your advanced levels. And I think in Ashtanga you have the series, first series, second series. So there is you know, a syllabus that is defined. But again, you know, if you are super flexible and you walk into an Ashtanga class or an Iyengar class on the first day and you can do all the asanas, it doesn't mean that they're going to be putting you in the advanced with the advanced students, because for these lineages the tradition of yoga is very important. And in the tradition of yoga, we don't look at how flexible you are in your body, but we look at how much of yoga you have actually assimilated. What is your commitment like to growth, to the practice of yoga, to the philosophy of yoga. So that's what they're actually checking. So you might be super flexible, but you might just be admitted to a beginner level, class in Iyengar yoga. So I hope this, sort of clarifies a little bit of, what goes on in these institutes, and why even very advanced and very serious teachers, and even teachers who seem to be very flexible and who seem to be able to do all asanas really well, why they go away, and why they insist, and why they commit to practice repeatedly, month on month, and year on year. So that's it. Why do teachers do this? Because they are fulfilling a commitment that they've made to the tradition of yoga, and that is the most important thing when you're a yoga teacher or you're a yoga student. So that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know, and you can just DM me your questions. And if you have any advice on what else I could make these videos about, let me know that too. All right, thank you. Bye.